Join us as we search Alaska and beyond for mysterious creatures, featuring Beans Baxter and Rob Roy Menzies. This is the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. Hey guys, Chuke here with the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. Thanks for tuning in every Sunday for your Chuke Alaskan Bigfoot cartoon goodness. Well, an interesting account for you today, or theory, and my buddy Suanik sent me this. So this is an interesting story from the tradition of many Mormon people, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Although it's not official church canon, it's not printed anywhere, it's kind of widely known among many members, and there was a member that wrote a book about it and mentioned a letter in the 80s, so it's very well known, and that is the idea that Bigfoot is actually the embodiment of Cain, or Cain himself. Now, as you know, Cain from the book of Genesis in the Bible was the one who killed his brother Abel. And it's interesting, he was cast out and cursed, and a mark was put on him. Now, it wasn't clear exactly what that mark was, but there have been some people that have surmised that he was marked by turned into a hairy man and cast out into the woods. Now, the original story from, his name was David Patton, in around 1830, he was a Mormon person that was in Tennessee at the time, and he was riding, I believe, a mule, and for 2 miles this creature walked next to him and spoke to him. Now, he said this thing was massive, and he was almost eye level with it while riding the mule, so this thing was very tall. And he also said, and this is the part that makes people think it was Bigfoot, it was dark and just covered in hair. Now, of course, there are lots of Bigfoot sightings in Tennessee, in the hills there, so I find that interesting. But what's fascinating about this account is the creature spoke to him and basically said, "I am Cain, and I am cursed to walk this land." And then he made the original letter was very interesting of the account. He made some strange statements saying, "I come and go." Now, I take that as he comes and goes in out of this reality, and we have all kinds of stories when we talk about interdimensional Bigfoot. Shout out to Jomo and the kids. He loves it when I talk about that. But he also said that he could not die, and he hated his existence, and he preyed upon the souls of man. So that I find really interesting, that he actually said that. Do I believe that there is a singular Bigfoot in Tennessee that is actually Cain, that is alive? I find that hard to believe. If anything, I would believe maybe that there is the offspring of Cain, that, he spread his seed and more Bigfoot, maybe that was the curse, turn into a hairy man, spread across the world, and these Bigfoot are from Cain. Now, it was really interesting. The letter was sent by a friend after David Patton had died. Another guy actually sent a letter into some leaders into Utah, and later it became widely known about this account. So fascinating story. But like I said, I tend to believe that if I believed anything along that line, it would be that the seed or children of Cain spread into Bigfoot. Now, many Bigfoot, I believe, are just ape-like men, or man-like apes, definitely North American primate camp. I think a lot of them are like that. I think in the Pacific Northwest coast, they're mainly benevolent. There have been some cases of them really angry and messing with people on the trail. My buddy had an experience of that. But for the most part, those Bigfoot are nice. Now in Utah, I mean, they're shapeshifters there. That's a whole different family of creatures than Bigfoot and Sasquatch. Of course, this happened in Tennessee, but there are some Bigfoot that are not nice. And so that would fall in line with the seed of Cain. Of course, we have the Bigfoot in Port Chatham, and what's interesting about that story, if you read Beans Baxter's book, he interviewed some elders. In the original case of that story, it was a man who went out into the woods, started growing hair, and turned into Bigfoot slowly. And he would come around the village and people would talk to him. He could still speak, but as he turned more and more wild, more into a Bigfoot, he slowly lost the ability to speak, and then he just became Bigfoot, and then he turned on people and was known to even kill people in some of the legends and hurt them. So really interesting. I do like this theory. What I tend to believe more is the theories of the Nephilim story. So also from the Bible, we have the story of Nephilim, the Nephilim in this book of Genesis, where the fallen angels came down, had relations with human women, and they bore giants. And these giants just spread chaos, were not very nice, and eventually was one of the reasons that the flood came to wipe that lineage out. Now, part of the Nephilim theory is many survived, and of course, Bigfoot, 7 to 11 feet tall, you'd consider that a giant. That is also, the children of the Nephilim, modern Bigfoot. And sometimes I would tend to believe that more than the story of Cain, as, Nephilim, there was a whole bunch of them versus, this account in Tennessee where there's one creature saying he was Cain himself, whereas the Nephilim were the children of the Nephilim spread around the world, living in the woods, big, wild, hairy man giants. And many, like the Port Chatham creature, are not nice. So that is interesting, but along the lines of the Nephilim, I think is a related story, and that is the works of Zechariah Stitchin, talking about the Anunnaki, who were also considered celestial beings, but more of the alien type, I guess. But they also had a break-off of some certain people that had relations with humans and bred some when that were related to the Anunnaki, and a very similar story to the Nephilim. So I tend to believe that more. But, when it comes to these stories, and then the modern Bigfoot lore of North America, we've got mind speak, we've got stories of people phasing, or these Bigfoot phasing in and out of reality, and also being able to cloak themselves, orbs. It's just really fascinating. So I think there is something there. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do like researching these stories, and it's just fascinating. So one thing I always mention was one of my favorite books was, I believe it was The Haunted Mesa by Louis L'Amour. Yeah, The Haunted Mesa. Now, in this book, the main character, he travels the Southwest United States. I always liked it because he traveled through Santa Fe, and that's where I was for a while. And in this story, there are some indigenous people that have these like kivas, and they have these huts and stuff, and then there's this round portal in a rock wall that you're able to walk through, and it brings you to another dimension, another planet. And in this planet, it is a rainforest, always cloudy, and then there are some giant hairy men in this planet, obviously Bigfoot. And I think Louis L'Amour, he had a relationship with certain tribes. I think he was given some information, and this was the last book he wrote before he died. I think he was trying to tell us something. He wrote Westerns his whole life. Then suddenly he writes this very odd book about interdimensional travel and mentions these Sasquatch-like beings that can come in and out of our reality. So that really makes me think. I think there's something there. I think it may be related to at least the Anunnaki and that story, but maybe even the story of the Nephilim. And when it comes to like the red-haired rock throwers of Afghanistan that military unit came across in Afghanistan, that creature is something that I believe would be related to the Nephilim. So let me know what you guys think. I know that I went way down the rabbit hole this time, but it's fun. I got to admit, it's fun. I'm going to keep doing these videos. We're going to have some more expeditions coming up this fall, and it's Chuke, your friend in the field.